I've been in situations where I've gone to places and then, someone smells so good. You are trying to wonder who it is. You eventually see the person and you go like, oh, the smell doesn't match with the face, or it doesn't really match with the person, and you're sort of disappointed. I don't mean to be derogatory on this channel. That is not what it is about. Just, giving you scenarios and instances which are very relatable. Or I have been in those instances where I've met people who really smell very posh, even look very posh. At the end of the day, they have nothing to their name. And that is going to be sort of, what I'm going to relate to these fragrances. Let me just start off with one before I talk my way into something I cannot get myself out. So let me go with Soft from Rejab. In my country, Ghana, for example, sometimes some of these celebrity designer fragrances, let's say celebrity and, this type of rag store, the fragrances you find at Ross and the rest, Ross, Burlington, going for around $22, $30 something dollars. You come to my country, you're going to buy it like 3 times the prices of those, ones you can easily find at the Burlingtons and the rag stores. And that is going to be a case of pink sugar. Pink sugar, I can get 100 ml at Ross for like $20 or sometimes 18 something. But in Ghana, you're going to pay premium for pink sugar, which doesn't make any sense to me. In that instance, I would say just forgo that pink sugar and go with Soft from Rejab. Not only is it going to give you that pink sugar vibe, but it has something more to it. It has that lemon, that slight candied lemon to it, which gives a slight twist of its own. It is very beautiful. It's going to give you that exact same sugary caramel, cotton candy, not necessarily cotton candy, but it gives you that caramel candy vibe, just like pink sugar with lemon, lemon candy, zesty sort of nuance to it. And that is Soft from Rejab. It smells a lot more expensive than it costs. In Ghana, this one costs about less than $4, it costs less than $4. I know elsewhere it's still under the $10 price mark. But it's a very beautiful scent. When at the height of this one's at the height of its hype, Choco Max, I really wasn't talking about it much because I like it, but it's never been like a love, for me. Whereas when it comes to Soft from Rejab, the same brand, I much prefer Soft over Choco Mask. Longevity wise is going to be there. Projection wise, much better. Scent wise, I enjoyed this a lot more better than I enjoyed this one. Although this is also a very beautiful scent, but I think for me, Soft is going to be that very cheap. I don't have any problem even calling it cheap, in this instance. It's going to be that very cheap fragrance. I wouldn't even sugarcoat it and say affordable. It's going to be that very cheap fragrance that is going to make you smell and come across as smelling more expensive, and that is going to be my first recommendation. We all know Creed is a very expensive brand. Not a lot of us can afford anything Creed, not even a 50 ml or even a 10 ml refill. Even a 10 ml refill is very expensive, but why not go with Laventure Femme from Haramain? It's going to give that quintessential pineapple, crisp, bergamot, woody approach of Creed Aventis, both the male and female, although this one is the Creed Aventis for hair, but very wearable for both men and women, in my opinion. It smells premium. It smells super expensive. It gives you that luxury of Creed. Creed to me is very luxurious, in nature with their fragrances. Even the brand itself is more prestigious than other brands, in my opinion, or to me. This is going to give you your Creed Aventis for hair at a fraction. I wouldn't even consider it at a fraction because there's no fraction to it. The cost of Creed Aventis for hair, which I have, which costs over $300 and something per this one, you're getting this one for like $35 or so, or even less, depending on where you're getting it from. It's a very beautiful scent. It smells super luxurious and much more expensive than it costs, and that is going to be Laventure Femme. I'm going to highly recommend this for people who want something elegant. It screams elegant and more dressed up, although you can dress it down, but it comes across as a little bit of dressed up in its approach with that effervescent bergamot and the pineapple and that crisp woody nature it has. It's just a very beautiful, elegant, expensive smelling fragrance, which is guaranteed to make you come across much more expensive and rich smelling than you actually are, and that is going to be Laventure Femme from Haramain. Next on my list is going to be an almond heavy fragrance. It's like heavy, rich, decadent almond, like a bitter almond. It is not your sweet almond. It gives me more of a bitter undertone with some blood orange, and then Tonka, a heavy Tonka scent, and that is going to be Shagaf Oud Tonka. This to me gives me a very rich smelling scent. It is quite deep. Deeper scents somehow comes across as rich to me. Occasionally you have those freshies also coming across as more rich, but deeper scent to me give me the impression of something more rich and intense. It's like fierce, bold, elegant, beautiful, and that is a case of Shagaf Oud Tonka from Swiss Arabia. This is a very beautiful, expensive smelling scent. It doesn't come across as your everyday normal scent you smelled like over and over. It doesn't smell like a lot of fragrances, and sometimes those exclusivity, not smelling like every other person, also makes you appear much more richer and much more exclusive. And that is going to be the case of Shagaf Oud Tonka. It's a very beautiful, decadent, almost, rich. It gives you that dense, that Tonka is heavy. The almond also is heavy, but also not sweet enough, and then there's something quite special and expensive smelling about this that I would highly recommend, and it's also unique in its own way, not smelling like any other almondy, marzipan sort of, scent. A very beautiful scent, Shagaf Oud Tonka. Another one I'll consider a very sexy, this one gives me more of a sexy vibe. Like, this is my man 24 hours. My man smelling like this 24 hours is my, like my, how do I even put it? My pride and joy, your pride and joy. This one gives me old money vibes. It gives me like the smell of whiskey, like bourbon whiskey in in a barrel that is aged to perfection. You always want to be an arm candy to a man who has put himself together, and this is that man. Whiskey Intense is that man that you want to be an arm candy for. You don't want to be an arm candy for just anybody at all. This is the man you want to be, that eye candy or arm candy to. Whiskey Intense by Fragrance One. Very rich smelling, making you appear a lot more richer and put together than you actually are. It's nothing casual. It doesn't give me nothing jeans and t-shirts. It's very ultra polished. Whiskey Intense. I'm going to go with Sehr Sheila. This, I'm supposed to give it a full review, but I have not been able to do so because at the time I got this fragrance, I really didn't like it. I had smelled this fragrance severally before getting my full bottle. I guess those were macerated bottles. However, when I got my fresh bottle, I really didn't like it. It was weird, and I just didn't like it until 4 months into it. It's been 4 months since I've had this. I think I got this in late December or early December or late November, somewhere about, that. But it didn't really give me what I was looking for until now. It is quite difficult for me to describe the scent of this. Although people say it gives them a jammy rose, I don't necessarily get a jammy rose, although I get that rose wood combo, but I don't necessarily get a jammy rose. It is quite sweet, like a sweet, not really a jammy rose, but it's just a combination. For now, let's take it as a rose and wood combo with some other nuances to it. It doesn't necessarily give me an Arabian queen, like how it's been described for the most part, but it's a very beautiful, opulent, rich, it's not as intense as the Shagaf Oud OG. It's not giving me that intensity. It's not giving me that. It's quite moderate, but it smells quite rich, and it smells very expensive, and it also smells different. It doesn't smell like a lot of fragrances I have come across. And as I said in an earlier, description, fragrances that do not smell like every other, fragrance also have their own sort of niche, and they make you smell exclusive. And that is the exclusivity I find in Sehr Sheila. It doesn't give me like the normal everyday rosewood combo, but it's just different. It is quite difficult for me to describe, but I'll find my way around it and give you a thorough description and review of this. But it smells super expensive to me. Just consider it as your rosewood combo with something quite unique, Next is also going to be a rose and oud combo. I think that sort of, combination come across as very rich smelling, and that does not exclude Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Woman. This is a very beautiful scent. It is not like the most mass appealing one, in my opinion. I think there is something a lot more, do I say sinister? I'm using the word sinister in a right way, if they can use it it comes across like a gothic sort of feel to me, with that nutmeg, saffron, and then the rose. The rose feels like a dry, wilted, old red rose. It gives me that gothic, abandoned, graveyard, abandoned, chapel. Gives me that. There's something mysterious and gothic and quite sinister about the smell, but it's also sexy at the same time and intoxicating at the same time. If you are into that gothic and mysterious sort of vibe, you are really going to get this and appreciate this a lot more. It smells super expensive. It doesn't smell cheap at all. I think this, compared to the original one in Noir, it was done right. They did a phenomenal job with this, and I would highly recommend Club de Nuit Intense Woman by Armaf. That is how battered my bottle is, but I still love this. The next fragrance is going to be for my women who want to feel sophisticated and ultra feminine and bougie. This is a very bougie, I am rich, I am unapproachable, not necessarily unapproachable, but I'm rich and exclusive, and that is going to be Gharam from Lattafa, a very beautiful scent. Gardenia, jasmine, vanilla, the best of both worlds, the florals and then the vanilla. It is sultry, it is soft and gentle, but it's going to linger throughout the day. People around you are going to smell you. It smells demure and elegant, and pearls. Like, I'm not talking about these fake pearls. Gharam from Lattafa screams to me white pearls and kitten heels. Just white pearls and kitten heels. That is a vibe it gives me. Elegant, ladylike, royalty, that sort of vibe. It is sensual, but not like ultra uber in your face sexy, but it's very, very sensual and intoxicating and very rich smelling. It smells like super uber rich. It doesn't smell cheap. It doesn't smell screechy. There is nothing that I can say is a negative side to this. I can't, for the love of God, find anything negative to say about Gharam from Lattafa. And that to me is a very rich, rich auntie, rich wife, like a rich man's mistress, a wife, it gives me that. And that is going to be Gharam from Lattafa. Next is going to be a fragrance that also gives me rich man's wife vibe. It gives me a very well put together, maybe a stay-at-home mom, who goes on vacation. She gets free. Her husband is rich. She has everything she can imagine, and that is going to be Junoon Noir from Haramain. It's like a very feminine, ultra feminine, lemony, kumquat and vanilla and some other florals. It is still going to give you that lemony, citrusy, mandarin sort of vibe, but in a league of its own, with a very powdery, soft, gentle vanilla, and some musk and something delicious and different. And that to me is how I see Junoon Noir. It smells rich. It also smells divine. There's something that is like divine and airy and lightweight about it. It's like effortlessly chic, that rich man's wife who is like effortlessly chic. You see her, you admire her from afar, but you want to be like her, and that is the case of Junoon Noir. Next is going to be one that is for the bold. If you are that bold. Alien to me always smells bold and confident and rich. The last time I asked about a bottle of Alien, I think the price, I was like, oh, after all these years, I was thinking the price of Alien would have dropped, but it's still on the upper side of the hundreds, on the upper side. I have my Alien, I have the other two flankers to it. But in the case of this video, I'm going to recommend for you an Adine if you don't have the money for Alien. Adine is going to be your fragrance world interpretation of Alien, the OG one. It's going to give you the exact same thing, the exact same smell without the performance of Alien. That is unfortunately, although even currently people say the new formulation of Alien is not as strong, but this is also slightly watered down, but it's going to give you that realistic, bold, expensive smelling Alien from Mugler. I love that smell. It's so rich and bold and vibrant and sexy, alluring, captivating, gives you all that bold and confident. It just screams confident and sexy and a bit, a bit dark. There's a bit of darkness to the smell of Alien, which I get in Adine. A very beautiful interpretation, just like slightly watered down in the performance area. Nonetheless, you can always reapply, and that is going to be Adine. It's for the bold and beautiful. And I had to save the best for last. I really had to save the best for last. To me, this is one of the most expensive smelling things. Aside fragrances, I think this is one of the most expensive aromas I have ever encountered, and that is going to be Fierte. I always get people telling me what this one is called. Fierte, whatever it is. This is a very beautiful scent. It's a very beautiful dark incense, vanilla, woods, florals. I don't even get the florals as much, although it has that sort of note, but that amber rich dark incense, the most beautiful wearable incense of them all. That vanilla also very dark and heavy and rich. It's just a very unique vanilla, very unique vanilla. It doesn't give me anything like a normal ultra girly foodie vanilla. It is much more richer. There's something a lot more richer and opulent. It feels like opulent. I'm bold and I'm here. All this one gives me is bold and unapologetic. It is bold, it is in your face, it is quite loud, but in the very smooth, like the smoothest way ever. Every single person around you is going to be mesmerized, intoxicated. It is very alluring and intoxicating, like we say for most of these vanillas. But I think when it comes to vanilla incense combination with some woods and that ambre, this one takes the cake. It tops them all for me. It smells super expensive. Although in the case of Middle Eastern fragrances, I think this one is a little up there with the price point, but it's so much worth it. It's going to smell super unique. You're going to smell like the most expensive person in the room, regardless of whatever other people are wearing. And that is going to be Fighting from Fragrance World or FA Paris. And those royals are some of my top 10 most expensive smelling, rich smelling, opulent, bold, captivating, intoxicating fragrances I have in my collection. Probably I should do a part 2 of this because I have other amazing fragrances that are going to make you smell much more expensive than you actually are, or much more richer than you are. And that is going to be it for today. And I hope this video found you well. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.